I think it's very important to think how preaching can still change lives in Europe today. It's true that in many circles we've lost confidence in the power of verbal proclamation. And some people would even say that preaching is passé, or that due to the technological revolution and the presence of social media, people would no longer be interested in listening to one person sharing information with others. But I would question that. One point of view, I find it interesting that initiatives such as the TED Talks are growing exponentially all over the world, including Europe. And people attend those gatherings to listen to other people speaking. And people still gather to listen to stand-up comedians or monologues and speeches, whether in real life or through movies, still move the hearts and minds of people. I think it's really intrinsic to human nature that the speech of another person has the power, the capacity to move us in ways that no other means can do. And I think that is real because actually that reflects the own nature of God, who is a speaking God. And we see from the Bible that God creates through His word, through His speech. We see in the Old Testament that whenever God wanted to make an impact within His people or in history, He would raise people who would speak on His behalf, the prophets, for instance. And as we move forward, as we come to Jesus, the one who prepares the way for Jesus, His cousin John the Baptist, does so mainly through his speech, the preaching of God's word. So it was Jesus who said to His disciples, for instance, we need to go to other villages where I need to preach as well. This is why I have come. We move forward, and Dr. Luke, describing the birth of the Christian church, tells us that it grew mainly through the proclamation of the apostles. And the history of the church also shows us that those crucial moments of revivals and God's power and advancement of the church took place also through the preaching of God's word. Therefore, I think it's necessary for us to understand that the proclamation and the preaching of God's word is a means chosen by God to cause change, to cause people to come to Him through the power of His Spirit. I think sometimes we are misunderstanding what preaching or proclamation really is. I hear some people saying that we are transferring information, and people forget what we say. We do forget what others may say very quickly. But I like what Jonathan Edwards, centuries ago, observed about preaching. He said that the most important aspect of preaching was really the impression that it causes in people's hearts and minds, more than what people remembered afterwards. That means when God speaks, something happens, always. And that's what I think we need to regain in many of our circles today in Europe. God still does it. God still raises people who speak on His behalf, and He is faithful to His word, and things will happen. The power of God through His word, by His Spirit, is touching lives in our days, for sure.